rich Mexican man, Hector Sousa, left his wallet full of cash while he was out with his daughter in a poor area. A kid found it and gave it back to him. But this time, he asked for a special prize that made Hector and his daughter cry. Hector Sousa realized that his wallet was lost on a boat ride after coming back from a trip to San Diego, California. He was a millionaire, featured in Forbes. Since the 1990s, he had been helping people in need in Mexico and Latin America by giving them food, clothes, and medical care. On that day, he was traveling with his daughter, Margarita, who had just turned 18, along the west coast of the United States. She went to the US a few times with her dad, but she never had enough time to see everything she wanted to. So, when she turned 18, she asked for a celebration, and her dad took time off work to go with her. Hector called a friend who worked at a fancy hotel in California and made plans for the whole trip for him and Margarita. They had been in the US for 3 days and had fun at places like Disney and Los Angeles. Now they were in San Diego and were about to go to the zoo or a water park. An island they visited, called Condorado, had a poor neighborhood with a lot of Mexican people living in it. Even though it was a popular tourist spot, Hector wanted to learn more about this place and the people who lived there, which made Margarita very angry. She wasn't excited about going to see poor neighborhoods in the US, but she did it to avoid an argument. As they got closer to the port on their way back to the city by boat, Hector realized his wallet was gone. He looked around, checked his pockets, and asked his daughter if she had seen it. Since he had used it to buy a gift in a poor neighborhood, Margarita thought it might have been stolen. Hector hoped that someone had found it and would bring it back. With all the people around, Margarita didn't believe this. She had no idea how this event would soon change her life. After being back at their hotel for more than 2 hours, Hector still hadn't heard anything about his lost wallet. The boat staff looked too, but they couldn't find anything. Fear gripped everyone, especially the rich man's daughter, Margarita. Margarita knew that her dad's wallet held more than just cash. It also held important credit cards for her much-anticipated birthday party. She told her dad that she was scared that someone had taken the wallet while they were on the island. "Dad, don't you see how these people took advantage of how nice you were to them? They tricked you into going to that poor neighborhood, even though you only meant good," she grumbled. Hector took a deep breath and told Margarita how much he loved her. He told her to learn more about life. He talked about how hard it was for him to grow up in a poor area of Mexico City with a cook mother and a tailor father. He got a job in a shopping store when he was 14 to help support his family. He couldn't do the things he liked until he was 24 years old, when he became rich. Hector talked about how hard things were for him, like taking the bus to work for a long time and skipping food sometimes. He did say, though, that luck had helped him along the way. Like when he had met Margarita's mother in college. He became a donor when Margarita was 3 years old, because he couldn't save her from tuberculosis, even though he was very rich. He thought about how safe and comfortable they were in a 5-star hotel, which was an exclusive treat for only a few. Margarita was quiet, as her dad told her about his life. Hector got a call the next day from an unknown number, saying they had found his wallet and giving him an address that wasn't in a tourist area. Margarita spoke up because she was worried that it could be a trap. Hector did trust the caller, though, because the person's voice sounded like a child. Even when Margarita called the security guard, he tried to stop Hector, but failed. Hector chose to go with his gut and get his wallet so they could continue the planned trip. They left the fancy hotel and went into a less well-lit, more ordinary neighborhood. Margarita was scared, as her birthday became a dangerous journey. She was standing next to her father nervously, watching every motorbike go by and being afraid of the threat of the red lights. The security guard's appearance didn't make her feel better. Hector, on the other hand, stayed cool because this area made him think of his childhood in some ways. Even though both their lives were in danger, Margarita couldn't figure out how he could be so calm. They finally got to the place that had been given to them, which was in a neighborhood with simple homes. Hector tried to leave the car, but the security guard wouldn't let him. When he clapped his hands, a child came forward, holding the man's wallet. The boy stood at the gate as the bodyguard gave it to Hector. Hector saw that everything, his documents, cards, and money was still inside. Nothing was missing. The boy looked to be about 13 years old. He was skinny, had bright eyes, and wore old, worn-out clothes. At that age, his life wasn't all that different from Hector's. Hector got out of the car with his daughter. He thanked the boy for returning the wallet and told him, "You saved me a lot of trouble, thanks a lot." Because the man was nice, the boy asked for $2. "See?" Margarita asked with a nervous laugh. "I told you. I'm glad we have protection with us." "What was wrong?" Hector asked. Margarita told him to give the boy all the money before more people showed up. She wanted to leave quickly. The boy felt bad about what he did and said, "That's not how it works, man. I called you from a payphone with the last bit of cash because I didn't have a phone. I begged all night on the street but got nothing. I saved money to buy my sister a cupcake for her birthday tomorrow." Much to Margarita's surprise, Hector became interested in the boy's story and asked him to go on. Paul, the boy, didn't seem to remember much about his childhood because he had been living with his mother and sister on the streets for more than a year. They stayed with other homeless people a few blocks away. Paul talked about a happy time in his childhood when he lived with his family in a small flat and had a small cake for his birthday. He loved the occasion so much because it was his only one. So he asked for the money to buy his sister a cake so she could feel the same way. Margarita couldn't stop crying because she felt bad about the initial thoughts. It turned out that Paul's sister had the same birthday as hers. Everyone was shocked when Margarita gave Paul a card from the fancy hotel, asking him, his mother, and his sisters to come over the next day. Additionally, she gave Paul $300 from her dad's pocket and told him to use it for transportation and clothes. Following that, they said goodbye. On the way back, Hector showed the bodyguard the restaurant where Margarita's birthday party was being held. She told him to go back to the hotel, but he didn't. "Dad, the money we'd spend on one night here could feed Paul's family for a whole month." "Okay, let's go back to the hotel, order pizza, and make plans for tomorrow." Hector agreed and smiled proudly at his daughter. It looked like all the years he had spent helping others had finally got through to her. Paul, his sister Cindy, and his mother Elizabeth went to a clothes store early in the morning. They felt good and left with new clothes. Margarita gave them money for clothes, food, and a ride to the hotel by bus, and some extra money. When they got to the 5-star hotel, they were shy because it was so fancy, and now that she was there, Paul's mom didn't know what to do. She had always wanted to see that kind of place. They were taken to a garden with a green field and a table with flowers and other decorations on it. Margarita's kind act meant the world to Cindy. She thought it was the most beautiful place she had ever seen. Hector asked a friend who worked for a hotel chain to tell all the families with kids who stayed there about the birthday party in the yard. A bunch of kids ran and played with Cindy and Paul. The adults were just as happy as the children. It was the first time they really understood how happy her father was when he helped other people. For the first time, Paul and Cindy tried mousse on a big chocolate cake. This made Elizabeth, their mom, and Margarita very happy. On their 18th birthday, Margarita hugged them while trying not to cry. Hector knew that one party wouldn't become a big deal for the family, so he took Elizabeth to talk to the hotel manager. He praised Paul's honesty for giving back the wallet, even though they were having a hard time, saying that it was because they had been raised well. The manager said that they had recently found out that some of their workers were stealing from foreign guests. He offered Elizabeth the job of head chambermaid, and Hector gladly accepted it, telling her she earned it. Elizabeth was shocked, but she gladly accepted, even though she wasn't sure if she was qualified. The boss told her that honesty and character were the most important things. The family started over the following week. Paul and Cindy wore new clothes and brought new things to school. Elizabeth felt very lucky she had started her new job at the 5-star hotel on the edge of town. Hector and Margarita kept going on their trip, but Margarita realized that her dad was happy, not just being rich, but also helping other people. It made more sense to her now.